Good afternoon. This is Drew Molly, and I'm with the City of Corpus Christi. And just for meeting minute purposes, Janet Whitehead, our legal counsel, we're going to record the meeting so we can take good meeting minute notes. So just to let everybody know. But we're going to go around the room and introduce everybody. And so, again, my name is Drew Molly with the City of Corpus Christi, and we'll introduce everybody here in the room, and then we'll go to the phone. So I guess we'll go to my right, Nick Winkleman.
Hey, good afternoon. Nick Winkleman, Director of Water Systems, CCW.
Miles Risley, City Attorney.
Janet Whitehead, Assistant City Attorney.
Rosana Ramirez with 7Cs.
Maria Corona with Corpus Christi Water.
Steve Ramos with Corpus Christi Water.
Jesus Jimenez, JJ, with International Consulting Engineers with South Texas Water Authority. And I think Ivan is the reference, but we have Ivan doing it.
There we go.
Ivan doing it with ICE as well.
Thanks, JJ. Okay, so that's everybody here in person at City Hall. And then I'll do the honors by just kind of maybe calling people out. There's a lot of initials. Most everybody's got their camera off. There's one person with a camera on. So we'll go with the person with a camera on, and maybe you can introduce yourself for us. And that is, can't hear you.
Oliver.
That's Oliver. I don't recognize him with his glasses. Okay, so this is Oliver, and we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it? I wonder if
Friday, right? It's a relaxed photo. He's on mute.
that's him right
Yeah,
there.
it is, on the road.
Yes, yes.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Oliver, we can't hear you. You're on mute, Oliver.
I'll tell you what. Let's go to the initial up there. That's AI. Can AI introduce themselves?
That's an answer.
Okay. Ansar,
Yeah, it's from our office.
because it may be us. Ansar, can you say something?
You hear us?
Okay, so it may be us.
No, it's got the name there. It's answered with
No. I know who it is.
Oh.
I'm just saying we can't hear him.
Oh, okay. I got you. Answered. He's also artificial.
Mm-hmm.
We heard him earlier.
I'm going to text Josh to see if he can hear.
Hey, Josh, we can't hear you.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna have to get IT back up.
Really?
Yeah, whenever they switch it.
Yeah. Could be.
I think Josh is gonna call our friend Kevin back up and see if we can get our IT dilemma sorted out.
Sorry, can we touch speaker system? Maybe. Could be. I don't want to mess with it. I don't know.
Yeah, he's on the road.
Okay,
He's on the road. Right about he's not from us. Right?
So New York and Chris will be 83 words deep. Is there volume when you hit this?
Kevin's on his way out.
Oh, I heard
Kevin?
something very faintly.
Kevin, can you say something?
Kevin with IT.
Okay. We can hear you, Kevin. Anybody else online? Can you speak?
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right, man, we got blown
Oh
out.
yeah,
Try
we
to
got
balance that.
Can I get one more test online?
Hello?
Yeah, we heard some folks.
Can you ask Ansar if you can talk?
Hello?
Ansar, can you talk?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Kind of pretty low volume there, Ansar. If you could maybe get closer to your mic.
See what he-
Yeah, can you hear me right now?
Much better. Okay. All right, let's give it a run again. So we got Ansar, he just identified. We got the gentleman Oliver Oliver, if you can say something so we can hear you.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. And it's Oliver Weiss, right? Is that the last name? Okay. Okay. Looks like we have, can you go to the phone and see who's calling in? There's a phone number. There you go. That's a 05 number.
I think that's John. Should be coming up.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Looks like the phone just died, so it looks like this might be John Morris. Okay, so we've got John. Then we've got August. Can you introduce yourself? August? Who is August?
August is with South Texas Water Authority.
Okay. Can August hear us?
He can hear you, he just, I don't know where his mic is.
Okay. All right, so August, we have Joella Wagner. We just heard Joella.
I'm here.
Joella is here. Then we have somebody with a CC. I guess who's that?
That's us.
Okay, that's us. That's good to know. Then we have a CZ, which it looks like it's a Charlie Zahn. Charlie, can you hear us?
I hear you.
Perfect. We have an MC. Is that Maria Corona? And then we have an FL, Francis De Leon.
Durant, South Texas Water Authority.
Okay. And then last but not least, we have Ryan Skaborczyk, and Ryan is our governmental affairs. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Ryan, good to hear from you. All right, so it's 1:15. I think we're ready to start. We've introduced everybody. For meeting minutes purposes, we're recording the meeting. And I guess this is a follow-up meeting to, I don't have my notes on the last time we met, but we met on a Thursday. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. And we had, most of us that are here today were in that meeting. And really the discussion was about the fact that we were a little bit concerned about whether or not we could get into a contract by August 24th. We talked about the fact that there was information that we were still needing to have in order to better understand what this project entails. And so there was a series of questions that we had asked prior to the meeting that we had last time. And I think we're still working through those questions. And so maybe with that said, we can turn it over to Janet. Janet has been helping CCW kind of navigate some of the questions that we've all are asking, because frankly, at the end of the day, what we need to know is we need to know what the cost is. We need to know what the timeline is. We need to know what kind of risks the city is going to be taking in order to get into a contract potentially. And we do have a contract that we have had provided to us. It's a contract between South Texas Water Authority and 7 Seas. I think there's been some speculation as to, why do we need that information? I'll just make it clear from my perspective. We need that information because we need to know what we're buying. We need to know what kind of risk the city is going to have. And it's only way we can figure out the risk the city will have is if we understand what the risk is. And there's always risk. It's not a bad thing. There's risks on any project. And so for us to be able to understand what kind of risks the city has, we need to understand what it is that we're buying. And so ultimately, I'll go back to the fact that we are not clear on what the timeline of this project is. We are not clear on what the cost is, and we're not clear on what the risks are. And so I think if we can try to kind of work through those questions, I think it'll make us all feel a little bit more encouraged, if you will, as to where we get to and how we get there. So with that said, Janet, I guess I'll turn it to you.
Hi, Janet, Whitehead, Assistant City Attorney. So I had sent the questions on July 17th, and we had talked about them at the last minute meeting, and I haven't received any correspondence back. And the questions, they kind of, like I said, they were meant to answer the outstanding items to start a conversation about the contract based on the memorandum MOU. And so, I was just looking right now. I know we pushed back the date until September, I think, is when we're going back to city council. So we're still needing this information in order to talk to them. I know things have changed with the 7Cs project. The first question I have is about the test well. The last time we met, the test well had just been completed. Sampling had been done. Do we have any reports yet on the water quality from the test well that was?
No, we don't, right? But I also have to say, why would you need to know that?
Because it's the quality of the water. And then I think it also goes to the quantity. And then based on your contract, that's where you finalize the capital expenses that are needed is based on the test well. Step one in your contract is test well and water quality report. That's the first step of your contract. The first step of the project is to determine the water quality.
Correct, but essentially what you are not buying raw water, right? You are buying the product water that has a specified quality, which is basically based on TCQ regulations, right? Which you also see in the appendix of the contract. And you buy if the product water meets that quality, then we have a guaranteed quantity, and if those two factors or those two elements are essentially in the parameters, then you would need to take or off-take that volume. That's essentially all of this contract is supposed to do.
Okay, so you're saying, so how much water is South Texas Water Authority proposing to sell to the city of Corpus Christi?
Okay, look.
One, how much?
The first analysis that we have made, and Ice, please jump in here. We assume at this stage that the pipe can carry up to 30 million gallons. Right? There is an hydrolysis study done right now that confirms that it really can carry 30 million gallons. Okay?
So South Texas is planning to sell to the city 30 million gallons of water.
28, because they need to
28.
have 28. Up to 28, let's say it this way. Yeah?
And that number is only based on the size of the capacity of the 42-inch pipeline.
That basically defines can South Texas Water Authority transport that water to overseas. Yes, that's correct.
Actually,
7C.
our intros were a little bit short. Is Oliver with 7Cs or with South Texas?
I am. No, I am with 7.
He's with 17.
Do we need South Texas to answer this question?
Yeah.
That's why we have 7 Cs here.
Yeah, actually, there was a question back at us, and I think it's appropriate for me to answer that. That question was, why do you need to know this? And that's because we've had a lot of water proposals pitched at us that aren't really viable. And what we know is if we buy into a water project that isn't really viable, we kill off a lot of other projects at the same time once we commit to a non-viable project. And that has a real cost. It means that some people ain't gonna get water because we're out there chasing a dog that ain't gonna hunt. So that is why we have to know that this is a viable and workable project. So if please pardon our scrutiny that we're gonna be needing to put through this. So if it seems like we're going beyond what South Texas, down to the 7 Cs to ask about the viability, about the quality, about the likelihood of success, we're going to be expected to report that to our people because we have a lot of competing projects that are on the edge of viability or not viable that we have to filter out.
And that being said, as business partners, it would be not smart on our side to propose something that we cannot accomplish.
So how are you going to prove that you're going to accomplish that?
That's exactly what we're doing.
By not providing water quality information?
Well, no, we're not providing it because we don't have it yet.
When do you anticipate you're going to have to provide?
So we are anticipating that we're going to have that at the end of this month, correct, Oliver? At the end of August?
It should be by the end of August.
So by the end of August, you will
I
provide that information to us?
I think you guys are mixing something up, because you're comparing something where you do the investment, and you have to buy water rights.
Wouldn't this go to O&M of the project? If the water quality is a certain type or a certain level, wouldn't that go into the cost?
No, the water quality, look, the
We
risk
assume that risk.
on the project, we are taking the risk. So we cannot meet the promise and agreed upon quality parameters, we're gonna come to bed.
So again, just for the record, by the end of August, you'll have the information, but right now you're refusing to provide us with that information.
No, we're not refusing. Don't put words on our mouth.
That's
We're
why
not- we're not
that's why I
refu-
asked the question.
No,
so
we're
you
not
can
refusing.
clarify.
I would just say real quickly, look, at the end of the day, if we're in a partnership, let's just share the information, right? So
Yes.
what we heard first was that you don't need to have the information because it's not something that you're taking the risk on. But what I'm going to tell you is that we are taking risk, because if we sign a contract that cannot be delivered, and as Miles just said, we lose other opportunities, then we're on the hook. And so clearly what we need to know is we need to know what the timeline is. We need to know what the quality is. We need to know what the cost. So we can pick any order how we want to talk this through. If we want to talk cost first, we're going to get to the cost and we're going to get to the schedule. But the first thing is what is the quality? What's the timeline? It's a simple question. What I will tell you is that Oliver won't answer the question, and you will, Rosanna, and we appreciate that. So we've got information that suggests we're going to have water quality data by the end of August. So that's good to know.
You're asking of this, and you're asking of this if all your water projects are proposed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because in fact, the Evangeline project, we had data from that project, two test wells, and we want to see what the data looks like. And so we went out and we tested it on our own accord, and we found out that in the second test well, there was arsenic over the MCL. And so we just want to make sure that we totally understand what we're buying. You know, I think the other thing that's important to note, and I'll just be the first to tell you, I've had firsthand experience in this, where you buy a product and it's through a third party, but the ultimate person or entity that's held accountable is the party that buys it. So if there's a problem with this product, which we don't think there is, but there is, our city council is not going to say Seven Seas has the problem. It's going to say CCW does. So it's in our best interest that we do the due diligence to look under the hood. But to answer the question, we're looking under the hood for everything, all the projects.
Sorry, I understand that. So I think that the first thing that we need to do is, like you said, try to bring a environment of let's work together to get to an end, to a common end. Let's bring the climate down a little. Make sure that we all trying to work together. We're not trying to work against each other. I understand that you have other projects that could go or not go if this project goes. Our goal is that, because I live here, that all projects are come to fruition because we need the water. Like the mayor continues to say it again and again and again, we need the water. So let's bring all projects together. Let's bring all projects to fruition. You will take the risk, and we will take the risk for you too. The thing is, we will. You say you will take your risk. That's your perceived risk. We're gonna take a real risk because we're not gonna give you water that's not meet the contractual quantity and quality. So it's in the contract. If you believe in contracts, I know the city has thousands of contracts. We are regulated and ruled by your contracts. Let's make this contract our lifeline. That makes this contract something that makes us work together. All the risk can be mitigated and talk about and explain in the contract. Let's do that.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Look, I think what's important is we've been asking for some information and we haven't gotten it. And it's okay to say that we don't have the information yet. That's a perfectly good answer. One of your representatives, which we've been, Casey Stinson will just say it. I mean, we've asked for some of this data. If you don't have it, you don't have it. But Casey asked us for water quality data from some of the wells that we have. We gave it. There's nothing wrong with that. We're going to share whatever data we need to share with whoever. I mean, you guys don't have a vested interest in the Oasis River groundwater project, but we're happy to share that data with you because we're drilling wells. You guys are drilling wells. There's a huge interest in the community as to what we're doing. People want to know. They want to know what you guys are doing. This could potentially be our project as well. We want to try to help this project accelerate. And the only way we can do it is when we're sitting down as a collective group is to say, hey, we've got the information. We know it. I mean, frankly, Rosanna, if you hadn't stepped in and said that, the answer from Oliver would have been, you're not going to get the information because you don't need it. Instead, what we know now is that the information is going to be available at the end of August. It's not secret. It's just good information.
And that's why we wanted to make it a point to have 7Cs here today to be able to answer as much as possible. And we know that there's a lot of information that's still lacking. And, you know, we've shared with that every time that we've been with you before being with council. We understand that there's a lot of data that you all have to input to still provide a direction to your council, a recommendation to your council. And so we're going to do all we can. I mean, I think there's been good effort, good faith on all of our parts to share documents where we could easily just say, no, we can't, we have an MOU or whatever, but we've tried to work through that. And so I think that that's the spirit that we all share. And when it's available, obviously we will get you as much information as we have available at that time. And that's our goal, is to hit that point. I did want to go to Janet, though. So when you said you sent us a list, did you send it to Charlie or did you send it to, I didn't see one come in.
I sent it to Charlie.
It's just to Charlie, gotcha, good. Okay, thank you.
If I could just add a quick comment, as this would be a new water source for the city, for CCW, you know, we've got to obtain TCQ approval. CCW has to do its due diligence to make sure there are no adverse effects to our overall water supply coming out of Owen Stevens. So that understanding the very source water is important. It is important to us. We're doing our best to mitigate something like Flint, Michigan, or something like that from happening. In all of these projects, there's a huge effort to understand what the impact of a different water quality would be in terms of our entire system, which is 500,000 people. So, thank you.
I totally understand, and that is why essentially we need to get the water quality of what you need, because actually it will be, that is what you will get. You need to tell us what water quality you need, because we remineralize anyways. Yeah, and that is the same we are doing on every system. You need to tell us what water quality you need, because you are buying pollen.
So in Alice, for example, the water that we extract from the ground is matched to the water that's in the pipe. And I know, I mean, you're a technical guy, so it has to match that water that's in the pipe to avoid, like you mentioned, in Michigan, or avoid all of that buildup that's in the pipe for years. We want to maintain the same quality that's in the pipe. We don't want any shocks, and that was achieved in Alice. So in Alice, there was a build-up introduction from the pipe, from the plant to the pipe, until we matched that water quality, and there was no shocks to the quality going into the ratepayer. So that's the same thing. I mean, I worked in the private industry for many years. It's all the way around. What quality do you want me to meet? And that's what you will have to tell us as well. What quality, what is that water analysis from the city of Corpus Christi water that you want us to be able to meet? So there's no shock to your systems.
Yeah, we'll give it to you.
We're actually trying to keep this in the answers to these questions in order. And I think number one, Oliver jumped in, and thank you, Oliver. How much water is STWA proposing to sell to the city? We heard up to 28 MGD. I haven't heard, for us, in terms of planning purposes, that's an up to. There's not a minimum that's set. You're saying we could provide up to, but we can't determine right now how much we could provide.
I mean, I guess it's a policy question that the council will weigh on staff to help provide what a reasonable amount is if you do ask for this as being one of your water options.
So I think it's almost impossible to answer that question until we know how much it costs. Because we're not going to buy 28 MGD at $7 a thousand gallon. Well, maybe we will, but I don't know. So that's the other part of the question is what is this water going to cost us? And I don't know, we're probably not there yet, but I think all of us are sitting pretty excited to find out what the cost is. So I don't know if that's where we're at, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Actually, when I hear the phrase up to, it means something less than 28 MGD.
It's always
Right.
the last half four, I bet you, right?
So I'm sure you have seen the hydrological study that we have done, which was up to 10 MGD. That was for the original SDWA project. That was the one that we performed. Why we are calling it up to right now is only because we need to do, and we are Drew mentioned Casey, our head of engineering. They are right now in an interview process to go through what are the other hydrologists that we are going to hire in order to do a study that goes to 30 MGD, right, or 40 MGD, just to have a little bit of buffer. Because obviously we are not, or we cannot, and SDWA cannot promise anything without the science behind it. That's why at this stage we would say up to, and Drew, I totally understand that you're saying, okay, I can only tell you that when I know what the cost is. I totally get that. And that should be delivered by the end of this month. So then we know what the cost is.
Yeah, I feel like that hydrogeo study was 3 MGD, and I felt like it's more of a cursory review, more of a informational gathering study than an actual study. Now, I fully understand you'll have more information with the completion of your test well, for sure. But yeah, I recall 3, but I guess you're saying 10. It was 10.
Okay, so just oh, go ahead, sorry.
Just to have a buffer in there, to be 10, right? But obviously exactly what you said, that's exactly why we drill the monitoring well, that's exactly why we do the test well, in order to make sure that, what the scientists told us, that that's actually the fact, right?
So just so I understand, I'm clear on this. So there was a hydrogeological study that was done on the 171 acre site that was for, or is for, 10 million gallons a day ultimate capacity. And just so we understand, that study that you're saying was commissioned shows that the formation is such that you would be able to produce 10 MGD sufficiently, and so that's okay. All right, so that's what we've got. Okay.
That's what we got for now, and then obviously the other step, and that was, as you know, dedicated to that site, the 170 from our Shell Foundation, right? And now we are going broader and see, for 20 or for 30 MGD, how many, basically the same what you guys doing, like how many additional sites do I need, where do I place these sites and stuff like that. So that work all needs to get done, because obviously, we are not doing or risking anything or investing any money or promising any water delivery to SDWA that we are not able to perform.
So just in your mind, is there any additional work that needs to be done hydrogeologically on the 170 acres that you're looking at drilling wells on?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to get us back to Janet's questions so we can kind of keep the answers in order.
So the next so I put, how is the water measured? Is it a guaranteed daily amount, or is it an annual amount, or is it take or pay? So one is how much water, and then how is it measured? So that we're all speaking the same language to begin with. That's the first 2 questions, is just to get us all on the same page. So I know there's different.
What do you mean with how is it measured? Just to clarify, please.
Yeah, take or pay can be either measured, take or pay this amount this month, or take or pay this total amount this year. So that's why we're trying to figure out what the proposal is.
Okay, look, let me give you a comparison, right? And so, for example, in the islands where we know we are dealing a lot with, there's obviously huge swings in the daily consumption, right? Based on tourism and seasons and off seasons and those kind of things. It's no problem. We can talk about that, right? Obviously, it has impacts on storage and stuff like that. But you know. We are happy to talk about that. We can do a monthly average, we can do a weekly average, we can do a daily, we can do whatever fits best for you folks.
How would you like to see it?
Well,
Sorry,
Janet,
how would you
Janet?
like to see it?
yes,
Janet,
yes.
this is Charlie. That's a decision that my board's gonna make, not Oliver. And
Well, I agree, Charlie.
I'll be drawing that contract, and I'm very familiar with contracts with the city of Corpus Christi, as you know, and it will be a take-or-pay contract, because that's what you require now. And as far as the quantity, or if it's on a daily, weekly, monthly, or annual basis, you know, we'll work through your staff to decide what's in your best interest and our best interest. But we don't have that information today to answer that question that you just asked.
That's a good point, Johnny. Sorry, I didn't want to speak twice.
Okay, yes, and when you're considering that, Charlie, you have to remember that, the city has, our goal is to have multiple sources of water, and so we want to be able to cycle through them as needed. And also the 7 Cs will be down so many days a month for maintenance, and then per year for maintenance. So we need to make sure that we're not paying for something that we can't take. So
I understand that. Like I say, I've drawn contracts with your staff for almost 40 years, so I understand that.
okay, so that'll be something we work through. Now so the price, I know we haven't. We've been going around this 550 number. Should we just take price off the table at this point, or is there a price that we're?
Let me answer that one again, Janet. The one that's been throwing the price out was the judge in Kingsville, and I have told him time and time again, until my engineers tell me what they think the price is after working with Oliver and his group, then I'll be able to tell you what that number is. But for me to be able to have that number available to draw a water supply agreement with you, I need my engineers, just like you would want your engineers to help you arrive at that figure. And once again, I don't think that we're ready to do that, because I don't have that information from my engineers.
We don't have a final number, but we've thrown out a number before.
Well, how much
right?
is South Texas
Not formally
paying?
from the judge does not, certified the judge does not speak for the board, although he has a great influence on the board. When we had an intimate meeting with the judge and both county judges and with the mayor downstairs, there was a couple of numbers that were thrown out of what real kind of closer real cost is to STWA with 7 Cs and what a proposed amount could look like for CCW. So there has been an amount proposed, and Charlie was there, but we just don't know yet, right? So the little caveat to what Charlie is saying is, yes, we want to protect what that amount is. We've got to work through engineering and through our finalized agreement with 7 Cs, but there hasn't been a number, right? So how far is that off? That's what will be determined hopefully no later than this month. But
How much is the South Texas 7 Cs number that you just referenced?
I don't remember who quoted that during the meeting. It was I don't think 7 Cs was even present at that meeting.
Is it the number that's in
Remember
your
JJ,
contract? Is it the $4.86?
was it Charlie?
Charlie, I've heard what?
Yes.
I've heard 355, I've heard 380, I've heard 455, so.
Well, can I just ask a question that I'm really curious about? What is South Texas Water Authority paying for this water? Because the contract that I have in front of me says that it's $4.55 plus 30 cents for the lease agreement, and that does not include electrical. So I'm asking the question. So if it's $4.55 plus 30, and then it doesn't include electrical, to me that seems like it's north of $5. Is that I mean, is that fair to say that's what South Texas Water Authority is
I
paying?
think that was a close number to what was mentioned when we met with the judge, and with both judges and the mayor, and several of us that were there present. I don't know, legal was there, I don't know if Charlie or Miles was there, but there was, our board president was there. So that was kind of just initially before we even were, I think, asked officially to be there before council about a month and a half ago. So that was the number that was kind of, that was shared. So I think it's close to that, right? We don't know. We can talk estimates all day. I mean, it's okay to talk about what the potential is, but we don't want to mislead you to give you something too low. If that's not what it's going to be. But those are, you're right, those are the factors that we're considering, right? It's just the general cost that we work with 7C in addition to the lease charge and then the electrical. And we have Joella on. Joella, do you have any other updates on anything electric-wise if you want to just shoot that out, or is this something we can talk about, Charlie?
Yeah, you can talk about it. I don't know that we've got anything definitive.
Yeah, we don't have anything definitive. Yeah, Joella, do you have anything that you've gotten from TCAP or any other of your organization?
I would say just wait till the end of the month so we have our numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we'll know, but
And numbers that are here today.
but wanting to kind of get to what y'all were bringing up is.
Is the discharge changing? Are y'all going, have y'all made a decision on the discharge? Because it was surface.
No, we're doing tests right now, and we're getting engineers are looking at that situation right now. But there has not been a determination made to change the discharge at this time.
So the discharge is going to Petronella?
Right? Or is that creek that goes?
Yeah.
So I think just, so we are looking at all options and there has no determination being made.
Okay, so,
Are you going to still have the board put together to determine where the discharge would be? I know Kingsville had, or Clayton County had created some.
That was created, it was a non-binding group that's considered a professional stakeholders group, basically. That was something the judge initiated in the court, of course not binding, but he wanted to do to show good faith effort. I spoke with the judge yesterday or Wednesday about that. He's been a little under the weather, so he's trying to re-engage with that. But also, we are doing our due diligence on our end with ICE that are helping ensure that we have those concerns covered, not only for you, but just the community. We know there's a lot of environmental.
And you're modeling it at a 30 MGD or 28, or you're just modeling it at the 30?
Right.
so I know we can't necessarily talk cost, but you could understand where we're a little bit confused because, Rosanna, you told us 350 and then it was 450. And then the judge said it was, yeah.
Sorry, who said 450?
You said it. You said it was 350, 450. It was a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was a little while ago.
It was 350 whenever we met on May 27th.
Okay, so there we go. 350.
It was 350, but that was the price that 7Cs will charge to STWA.
So how is that possible if you charge 350 to STWA when a contract that we have in our possession shows that you guys are charging?
That's a contract for 3 MGD.
Okay, so there's another contract that has a different.
Not yet.
Okay,
That's the only contract we have with STWA right now.
but there will be a contract that's going to have 350.
I cannot say if it's going to be 350. That's the number that we were throwing around at that time. But it's definitely something that we shared during that meeting. You're right. Yeah, that number was shared during that meeting.
Okay.
And of course, with the pause or the delay, however you want to word it, I mean, obviously we all know that increased costs. I understand that's why you're all pushing your inner harbor, because we know materials and labor costs are going to tend to trend up rather than down. So that's something that else to consider based on our previous discussions and timeframe that we were
Yeah,
expecting.
in May, we shared that during that meeting that the two judges and you and Peter and the mayor were on. And of course, a lot of things have changed. Whenever we have to provide more water to the city of Corpus Christi through SCWA, that contract is going to have to be amended, of course, because we're going to be making more water. So that's going to change.
We just want to make sure it's real clear because, our ratepayer is going to have a lot of questions. If STWA is getting water for $3.50 and then we're paying $5.50, $6 a thousand, that's going to be a pretty bad look for the city of Corpus Christi. So we want that kind of transparency.
Of course,
I think
the
what's
thing is, the ratepayers also know that you mentioned to me once, there's going to be expenses for conveyance and electricity and those kind of things. So
sure,
those
and
have to be accounted for.
that actually brings up the next question, which is when we look at the contract that we have in front of us at $4.45 a thousand gallons, and then you add the 30 cents for the tariff that you pay to the Rochelle Foundation, it's kind of easy to see maybe where the judge got $5.50, because if you take that $4.45 and you add the 30 cents, it's about a 15% delta. So that there's likely a 15% markup, which maybe goes to administrative costs, whatever other costs might be, but that also does not include electrical. And to what extent does the conveyance charges? Because we know there's conveyance. I mean, we charge South Texas Water Authority about 40 cents a thousand gallons for network costs. So if you just flip it back, let's just assume it's 40 cents back to the city. You got electrical costs, and then you've got this maybe 15% tariff that we're not sure what that is. So again, it kind of goes back to we're trying to do our due diligence to figuring out what is the price of this water, and we need help because again, we were potentially going to be August 24th going to City Council and talking about a project that we have no water quality data on. We don't know what the cost is, and we don't know what the schedule is, and we don't know. I mean, there's just so many things we don't know.
But I'm sure that,
Yeah,
like I mentioned before,
Drew, in all fairness, though, that wasn't us that said that it was going to be August 24th. That was my objection the last time we met, was, that was a number that was pushed on us, and it's a number that we were honest with me sitting around the table there, that we couldn't meet that.
Yeah, Charlie, that's good. And we appreciate that because I think we all agree that we were getting pushed into a corner that I think many of us were uncomfortable with. I'm not sure, how we can kind of push back sometimes when you've got a policy board that is, thinking one way. I think it's really apparent to me and maybe others that we have to be honest and straightforward with our council. I'm not saying we're not being, but we just got to kind of buck that pressure that we have on us. And we need to tell them that if we don't have the data, we can't make decisions, and we got to have the data, right? And I think that's what we're trying to say is let's get the data, let's look at it, and let's be prepared to go in front of this board or this council with solidarity in agreement that we don't have the information. When we have it, let's make sure we all agree with what it says so we can go in solidarity and present it.
I agree with that.
I agree. I mean, this is probably the largest group that we've had in person and online. Almost everybody that can and should be here is participating. So I think that's going to help because we've had a lot of great meetings, but there's been 2 or 3 key voices or perspectives that have not been included. So today that we have everyone on our team accounted for, and on your side, legal, administrative, and engineering, I think that's going to help us out. So I agree. Sure. I think we're going to get a lot accomplished, or at least know where we're at. And we have some concerns from our board, right? There's some pushback as well, and wanting to really have to justify and prove these numbers. And we have 2 new board members who are going to be asking a lot of questions because they're brand new to the process. So we're feeling a lot of that as well. So I agree. We need to, and I think we are. I think we are trying to work together. So let's push on, and we'll get you hopefully some more answers of yes, no, or we'll get it to you soon.
Okay.
Okay, so what date? So now, when will we get the water? So what date will South Texas be able to deliver water to the city?
Okay, we will work for the next, because obviously it depends on so many variables, right? And one is obviously the quality of the data, the other one is the production of the well field, right? How many GPM can you get out of these wells? because that defines how much, how many wells do you need, which then defines the timeline. So what I would suggest before we are getting an answer from us or from STWA, because again, essentially the answer will come from STWA, but 7Cs will do the work behind to see how large the well field does have, or how large the well field has to be, how many wells do we have to drill in order to fulfill the 30, or essentially the 30 product order. And then we can give you a timeline, which should be also round about the same time frame, let's say last week of August, first week of September.
Okay. Now,
Does that make sense?
So I just want to maybe ask a question there. So you're saying last week of August, first week of September is when you would be able to tell us when we would be able to have treated finished water from.
Right, that's correct. Yeah.
And that's for the, that's for the 30 MGD.
Okay.
And I have one quick question. Is that going to be delivered at the site of the meter, or is that just whenever you can produce the water? So we still have to factor in the delivery, right?
last time we talked, the delivery point is the County Road 52, is to the end of the line that they own. But I'm assuming the 42-inch line assessment will also be at the end of August? Is that right, Oliver? You mentioned.
I don't want to speak for ICE right now, because I think in jump in.
No. No? Okay, so it's not going to be anytime soon?
The assessment for our 42-inch.
The assessment for our 42-inch line, no, not by that time.
Okay.
That'll be a little.
Okay. So, but the 50, their line, their portion of the line, it ends at County Road 52. So that's what we talked about last time, is that that's where the water meter would be.
Okay.
And that's where we would take the water. So they would deliver it to that
Okay.
point.
Okay, so then this, maybe at the end of August or early September, they will tell us when the treatment and the delivery will be able to receive that water at that point.
Kind of, because we still don't know if the line will actually accept how much water could go into the 42-inch line, the condition of the 42-inch line. So
what is the ETA on the end of that report?
If you probably give me probably a couple of weeks, I could tell you more or less what we that ETA, because the first step on that has to be an assessment. And currently we are on the pricing options for the assessment. As you know, well, for you probably, right, with the resources you have, but for South Texas Water Authority, we have to look at the best options that we have. So give me a couple of weeks and I can tell you more or less when are we looking at that. But again, just give me a couple of weeks so I can get with John and his board, and they can, once they tell me what path they want to follow, then I will tell you more or less when that will do.
Well, so say the 42 inch is not an option. Where would be the delivery point? If it's not, so yeah, where would the delivery point be? Where would the meter be for the city? Would we still put it a pipeline to the 50, because y'all are proposing the 42-inch line to County Road 52. But if that 42-inch line is on an option, are you still going to put a line to County Road 52 for us to take the water?
Why wouldn't it be an option?
It should not be. I'm just saying if it's not. I'm not saying it's not an option. I'm just saying that it has not been assessed, and this, the way it's being proposed, it's never been done before, and it's 40 years old.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
so,
a big if.
Right. Yeah. So what? So
We
if
even waste
what-
time discussing that because it's a big if.
Okay. So what is the option though? I mean, we always like redundancy.
Well,
So
why
what's the
don't we
option?
wait for the report?
Okay.
When is the report?
6 to 8 months. maybe
The
a
report
year.
is 6 to 8 months?
Yes, because
What?
that was what I was going to clear. So you're saying 2 or 3 weeks, then to tell us an estimated time of completion.
Okay.
That is correct.
Are you guys going to do like an acoustic? Are you guys going to do like an acoustic like ball that goes in the pipeline?
That's what she thinks, 6 to 8 months.
I didn't say 6 to 8 months at all.
That's what they're asking, you just say yes.
No, I said that in 2 weeks, I will tell you more or less when, depending on what route they want to take.
What's the maximum time? I mean, so we're just trying to put some, some information,
So-
so we know we can follow up, that's
If
all.
if we keep up with this every 2 weeks, we should have an answer by the next time we meet. Thankfully, we have a board meeting scheduled for Tuesday.
Okay.
So ICE and Charlie will be able to go before the board and give an update. Part of this will be an executive session, right? There's part, information for now, but I think the time frame works, so
Okay, so.
we'll get you an estimate by then. No
Yeah.
later than 2 weeks. Today, Thursday or Friday.
Okay, so you guys are going to go to the board next Tuesday, and you're going to basically, I'm assuming you're going to present to the board what the estimate is in terms of cost and timeline to do the assessment on the pipeline?
If I may, we're going to present to the board two different options. One, of course, is a costly option, but it's going to be reducing time, and the other one is going to take a little bit more time, but the cost is going to be a little bit low. So that's an option that we're going to present to the board, and depending on what route they want to do for the assessment, then we will be able to tell you more or less what we are expected timeline to have a report.
Okay, so just so I understand, because timelines are so important right now, and when you're in a situation like we're all in, what are the two options? I'm assuming one is like a condition assessment where you put somebody in the pipeline and you manually inspect it. The other one is you put like some kind of an acoustic device in the system and you let it run through the system and you get the data from it.
No, for this first part, both options include somebody going in there and physically inspecting this, right? But the option is we have a contractor that will do this, or we use it with some in-house forces. So it's a combination of both, and we want the South Texas Water Authority to give them those options right now.
Do you have an idea of what those costs are going to be?
I don't know if I can disclose that right now, but we have an idea. I would need to talk to Charlie.
Okay, so presentation of the board Tuesday, South Texas Water Authority board on options, and then the board gives you guys directions on which way to go, and then you go do the work, and then we're talking about how long of an estimated time period before you get the assessment back, and you're able to put it into a report, and we're able to see it.
Again, if you give me a couple of weeks, I will be able to get you not only that information, but a nice timeline so you can look at that. You have a timeline with different options, so that way you can have something you can show to your council or whoever you want to pass that information.
I just got to ask, is your board going to ask for that information? Because they would probably want to know what it's going to be.
Yeah, but since we're presenting several options, I would say let the board pick the option, and we'll come to you. Though we're not speculating. Oh, it's 2 months or it's a year or whatever. It's kind of like talking about the cost right now. It's like we don't know what the cost is, so let's just wait till the end of the month, and the cost should be tighter. Same with this one. If you let us present to the board, we can get you, and that way you'll know. You're not coming back and say, well, they're gonna have option 1, option 2. Let's just let the board pick, and we'll come back and tell
And
you.
y'all aren't meeting Tuesday, right? We are off next week.
Where are we? We're off?
No meeting.
Oh, I was like, man, we
No,
don't-
no,
vacation,
council.
man. We don't take vacation. Yeah, we do have vacation from
I know you
council.
don't take vacation.
That's it.
For council. So that works, so that we'll
Everything's a
have
Monday,
a
Drew.
definitive answer, and we can give you
Yeah.
a better timeframe maybe by that following week before you
Okay.
meet
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Okay.
let the board tell us, give us direction, and once
Okay.
they give us direction, you'll have the direction we were given to.
Okay.
And there's no, every day's a Monday, Drew. There's no holidays, there's no.
Just a quick point of clarity, just information. So we are feeding that at County Road 52, we have a 16-inch line that is our back feed, our secondary feed to the Cal Allen area. And, Ivan and John, I know you guys are aware of that. So that is in operation, and we've seen quite a bit of benefit from that. It's just a consideration. I just want to remind everyone that exists.
Thank you.
Have y'all's issues gotten resolved there in Cal Island? I know that there was issues as far as, wasn't it pressure? I guess that was the main issue.
So that's a separate project. So the connection at County Road 52 was to provide a redundant supply to Cal Allen. There's a separate project to improve pressure, system pressures there.
Okay. 'Cause I remember y'all had reduced or regulated the days of usage, I think, out there before there was
Correct.
level 3 or whatever.
We're gonna be relating this to our leadership. So the 2-week timeline is the timeline to come back and indicate when the assessment will actually occur. The assessment itself could take many months before it actually occurs, assuming that y'all decide to go forward with it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, part of what we're trying to do, we're not trying to ask these questions to be tough, right? We're just asking these questions because what you don't say is what we're going to infer, right? So if you tell us, hey, this is what it's going to look like, then we can basically say, okay, that's what it is. But if you don't have an answer, the dangers is that we're going to make an inference that it's going to be this, and then there's going to be conjecture as to what it really is, right?
We will get you an answer, and whatever that answer is, if it's no answer, then you know that's an answer.
Okay.
Right? I mean, we'll do our due diligence to commit to getting you that so you can provide that. Because like I've said, our board will probably be asking the same questions
Sure.
that your council will. So we will make sure that you get that.
Yeah, and
One way or the other, the good or the bad, you'll know
Okay.
what that estimate looks like. We will have that for you.
Because on our side, it looks like, if the 42-inch pipeline has a lot of problems, it actually speaks positively of the 7Cs proposal for y'all, because it makes more economic sense for 7Cs to be providing you the water than for the city if the 42-inch line is failing at some of those points. On the other hand, that makes it less viable for us if the 42-inch line has those failures. So the answers are, I think, important towards predicting success on either of these proposals, but they might.
No, I mean, we absolutely fully agree to that statement, and I think there we are on the same page. But I think we also need to give us some time to assess that, right, of what needs to get done with that pipeline.
Okay, so how does this impact the existing water supply agreement between the city and South Texas? Right now, our contract ends in December. I think we're negotiating an extension of it, but then, after, does the South Texas plan to no longer purchase water from the city after the 7Cs project is up and running?
So we don't have a general counsel here who are the ones who are normally negotiating that on our behalf with CCW, the city. But obviously we need to understand the feasibility of this and work out some of those timelines a little bit better. I personally feel that there's not too many talking points to work through. We understand the key concepts. Take or pay is a big one. And then there's a few other things. The last time we met, which has already been several months ago, probably earlier this year, we only have, I think, have agreed down to just a handful of items that need to be worked through. So I don't want to rush us to the end. My commitment and what we've discussed internally with our management team is we don't want to do that to ourselves or to you, right? We'd rather get it done. We feel comfortable and appreciate that both Peter or his office and I signed that document. It had already been agreed to. We finally signed it about 2 weeks ago when I was last here. But that one's kind of on standstill until we work this out, because that can flip the whole narrative depending on what council decides and what our board decides. So I feel comfortable that we have worked through most of those issues and can come to a pretty quick conclusion on that. So I would say I'm hoping, depending on the information we get from ICE, that we'll know by September where we're at, because that's my commitment, because I know it still takes at least a month to absorb and process everything we discuss, and then come back and get it before council boards and take another step and then come back again. So that leaves us a handful of months before 12/31/25. So we still know that's in the back of our head. That's still very much a concern. But once we see how this works, then we'll have a better answer, right? And initially, it was always, this was a supplementary supply that we were working with 7Cs, and the primary source would be through CCW, right? So that's the main issue for us. So until we know how this works, because if it gets flipped, then obviously that changes a lot, and that is a concern to us. But we don't want to sabotage this process, because we know that council is very interested in to see how much, if any, we can provide to you. So long answer, but we are on the standby to negotiate that when needed, but I would say probably the September timeframe at the earliest, probably mid to late September, once we can address a lot of these questions for the Seven Seas project.
Well, one question that I have, John, is I'm struggling a little bit to understand if we end up getting into an agreement with 28 MGD, there's no water going back the other way. So you are back on a single source of water, and it could be one that, you know, and I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'll just say it, I'm just a civil engineer, but the water is coming one way, and the cost today, and it's actually gonna go down a little bit for you guys next year, right? It's $323 per thousand right now. It's gonna go down, but that water is not going to you guys. It's gonna be, we're gonna sell it to somebody else because we're gonna be going the wrong way. So just so everybody knows, you guys are on a single source of water, and you know, I think that may be something that it may not be clear, but I just want to make sure. I think it is clear, but sometimes you know, you're not sure what the obvious is.
No, we're very much aware of that. We've talked about that internally, and you know, there's a lot of options for everyone to say that, right? So it's not like we're putting all our eggs in one basket. We understand if this decision is made, that there will be challenges, but we plan for that, you know, that contingency. But like I said, if you give us to the end of next month, we should have this worked out, and we'll know, and
cool.
then we can know how to go about that. So,
Yeah.
Well, let me apologize for a little bit about the ambiguity of the question here, as to what this is. I mean, this is one of two things: the 3 MGD that you're going to be getting from STWA, or the potential 28 MGD, 30 MGD, or 28 that are going to be coming to the city. So I think this is a positive from 7 Seas because it'll either reduce our demand by 3 MGD, or it'll potentially provide 28 MGD. So in terms of how does this impact the existing water supply between the city and STWA, I think there are two definitions to this. Your 3 MGD, it will reduce the city's provision of water by 3 MGD, and it looks like the contract with STWA and 7 Seas is total. It looks like it excludes y'all from having other sources when we read it. So is that the right reading of this?
For this contract, you mean?
Yeah. So we can then say to our people, well, it's going to be a 3 MGD reduction in demand, right? Would that be correct?
I think it would be. I mean, Joel or Francis wants to weigh in on that, or I know Charlie's on too, but that kind of blends in a little bit more into, we haven't included our general counsel in this discussion. They're a little familiar with it, but not so much. But I think that what you're saying is, you've had that discussion, and we understand that that's the potential what will happen. So that's one of the challenges looking at this, but we'll work through it.
No, I think that given our present situation, that can be seen as a positive as
No,
well.
I agree. No, it definitely is. It's something that we've seen as could be a positive for everyone potentially if it works out that way, right? We'll make lemonade out of lemons. So.
Okay, but the most important thing is we're not going to know until September, October at the earliest, and in fact, we might not know for a much longer period because we're going to be waiting potentially on an assessment for a 42-inch.
Yeah, so it says 7 Seas is the primary source of water. So it doesn't really say it's exclusive. I mean, would you say it's an exclusive contract? No? So South Texas could get water from other sources?
It's an exclusive contract in the sense that 7 Seas can only produce and treat water for STWA.
Oh, no, it doesn't say that at all.
That's correct. That's the interpretation. That's
That's the
correct.
interpretation? Okay. Okay. What's next? Oh, so changing the source of water is going to be a change for South Texas. I mentioned earlier about the days that 7 Cs will be down, and this goes to the viability of the project. So we are buying water from South Texas. 7 Cs is down for maintenance, or what kind of storage? I mean, what do you have? What does it say? It says what facilities such as storage tanks, pumps, etc. does South Texas own? So how are you going to provide water to us? What facilities?
Let me give you an answer to that. We are always building more capacity, right? Because obviously these trains need to get, maintenance, or need to have maintenance and stuff like that. But we always have one additional train in spare in order to guarantee the 30 million gallons at 100% of the time. Yeah? So the maintenance done, the plant wouldn't shut down all the way. It would be basically one train after each other that are getting maintenance.
So there's another question that talks about that, because I like your little picture. I'm a very visual person, so I have like this little picture, and I see where the product distribution leaves the plant, and that's where the meter for South Texas Water Authority will be. And I'm trying to figure out from that point to the city. In fact, I have a nice little map here. Yeah, you can't see it, but yeah. Here's South 7 Cs down here, and here's the city over here. What happens between the two? So South Texas takes the water from 7 Cs, and then what happens to the water? How does it get to the Corpus Christi? And you're saying you have a train, so you're always going to be producing 30 MGD, and it's always going to go to South Texas, and then what does it do from that point? So and then it goes into the 42-inch, so I guess you have pumps on 7C site, a pump, and you'll be pumping water, and it'll go into the 42-inch line and come to us. So it's 30 million gallons a day every day. Just pumping water out of the plant.
That is exactly correct, but I cannot, obviously, as you know, I cannot see your maps and stuff like that, so I'm not so sure if I'm the right one to answer right now. But John or Rosanna or Ice, maybe you jump in, but that is essentially the area to put a few pump stations, because I think it is gradually flow today, right, coming down.
So South Texas has 2 pump stations?
Yeah, we have several pump stations, not at the 42, off of the 42.
Right.
So the water will be pumped from the plant into the 42-inch line and then brought down to where your meter is at County Road 52.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is the pumping apparatus that you're going to be building, it's going to have to be pumped from the new plant, and it's going to have enough pumping capacity to basically have enough head to get that water to deliver at our facility. Again, I go back to cost. That's not, we don't know what those costs are, right? So I hate to ask the question again, but when are we going to know that information? Any idea?
No, this will be all in the price, right? You're not, as you know, you're not paying anything up front. Right? So this will be all in the final price that you are agreeing with STWA. That will be all included in that.
The pump station will be at the plant, because that's where
Okay.
we're connecting to the 42.
So the plant will be located in close proximity to the pipe, so that is minimized. And the pump station will be at the plant.
So when the judge gave the number of $5.50 without electrical, right? Did that include the costs associated with this additional pumping that would be required to deliver the water to us?
That is the price that is delivered to STWA. Yeah.
Let Charlie or Vice or John answer that question. Because that's not, that's the conveyance essentially, right? So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why we're kind of confused. We understand the price that you're quoting per your document to South Texas at that meter as described by Janet. We're talking conveyance now. Was that conveyance costs quoted in that price that you talked out loud to council at another point?
John, you want to take a crack at that, or us?
I don't know where the cost came from. I mean, I can agree with Drew. I think it came from the numbers he mentioned earlier, but I mean, I know I wasn't at the council meeting, but I was watching it from the office, and when he said the number, I was like, and I texted Ivan, I was like, hey, where did that number come from? He said, I don't know. I was like,
And wasn't he also quoted by saying he was talking to some attorney, the attorney gave him a green light
Right.
to say the cost,
Oh, gosh,
then he
yeah.
said the cost.
yeah, I have
And
no
that
idea.
was all inclusive, there was no upfront costs, City of Corpus Christi didn't need to worry about it all, this was the price.
Well, once again, I think we've established that the judge doesn't really have, I mean, he's an advocate, but is he the official spokesperson or an operator or an executive at the water authority? He's not. Does he carry great influence? Yes, and I think he was there in that capacity to share the enthusiasm of the potential of this. Like I said, there's been some numbers that have floated through some of these discussions, and that was kind of a more high-level chief policy meeting. I think Peter may have been there at that meeting. I believe Peter was there downstairs in the staff conference room when we met.
Yeah, so the first time we met, I think, was like the last week in May.
Yeah.
And
The mayor was there.
the mayor was there,
Judge
Madrid was there, Scott was there,
President Gravely.
Gravely was there, you were there, I was there. And that was when we first heard that it was 350. And then we were told that we needed to make a decision in a couple weeks by the judge. And Rosanna quickly corrected and said it would be September when we would need to make a decision, because you guys were going to start designing the project in December. And in order for us to be a part of the project, the answer needed to be provided by September, because you could basically change the design plans to accommodate a larger project. And so really where we're at is we're just, we can't commit until we get all of that information hashed out, right? And so the cost is, the big key. And so I think we're continuously probably getting ahead of ourselves by asking the question, but at the end of the day, we're being asked the question, and it's hard to continue to not have the answers, but we don't want to put anybody in a place where they're going to say something that, regrettably is going to be not the right number.
Well, I get where you're at. I mean, it's hard to unhear what you already heard.
Right.
I mean, and that's the number that was quoted. So, with us in a room and the ability to kind of share one-on-one discussions, I think that would be helpful to kind of express. It was a very enthusiastic sell for the community that was pitched, but it was not anything on behalf of what we as STWA can deliver at this moment, and then we'll get you that data as indicated based on the time frame that we have. So I mean, we all understand and agree that there was I mean, it's hard to control your boss's boss or whoever, right, from going out and making comments. So that's kind of what we're battling or trying to unhear, but we'll get you what you need. So I hear you, Esteban, but
I'm just trying to go back, because it's like, okay, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out the cost, we're moving forward, but I think what we're all kind of agreeing on or coming to the conclusion is there is no cost. Everything that has been said to this point on August 1st, there is no engineering completed on the 30 MGD facility. There's no water quality to this point for a 30 MGD facility. There's no hydrology for a 30 MGD facility. There is no decision on the brine discharge for a 30 MGD facility. So there is no information as of August 1st for this entire project.
you're absolutely right. And thank God the deadline's not August 1st.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you. We'll get you the information, as we said earlier, that we're setting time frames. And we're ready. We're ready to get it to you. We want to get it to you. We do.
No, we're only anxious because of the, not only the cost that was given, but also the timeline that was given and public. I think I have a date of February 7th, 2027 to start receiving water. I don't think we're gonna, and so that's what we're trying to figure out. You have all this stuff, how are we going to meet the final deadline, not just the contract deadline, but the date that people are expecting to start getting water? And I don't think we're gonna do that either. So that's, I mean, we're talking about a new pump station that's needed. Have y'all decided the location of it? Has any work been done on the new pump station in order to get the water?
The pump station will be at the plant. The plant is literally, I don't know, probably be.
So on Edwardsville property?
Couple hundred feet from the 43rd
Have they
line.
given permission for for a new pump station?
It'll be part of it has to be
Part
part
of
of
the
it.
lease, I don't know if you want, can you go into that?
Yeah, but
Well,
it's.
that's where the plant will be located. I mean, the plant is not gonna be floating. The wells are gonna be there and the plant is gonna be there. So it's at the same property.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yes,
and
the
the
plant
40
will be located at the Russian Foundation.
My understanding was that the plant that you have right now is only for 3, or actually it's 4. It's 170 with the well field. So for 30, you need a larger piece of. So it's
Yes.
really So is it next door? I mean, so it's a different lease, I would say.
You need a larger piece of property, but only for the well field, right? The plant is not big. Yeah, typically you would say, if you build it bigger, you would say 0.2 acres per 1 inch.
Well, same size as Inner Harbor. Yeah, same size.
I got a quick question, Janet. Can I jump in real quick? Yeah. So, can you guys clarify in the contract that STWA has? Are you going to own the desal facility, John, or after 30 years, or how does the contract speak to ownership of the infrastructure at the end of the term, if you will?
Johnny, I guess that's your question.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's get you right.
No, it says at the end of 30 years that we can acquire it. I think it's for $1, Drew.
Okay. So at the end of 30 years, the STWA has the option of purchasing for $1.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, there could be, there's always a chance that you could always renegotiate it.
Correct.
An agreement, a new agreement, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not.
So what's the status of your permits? I know that South Texas needs permits, Seven Seas needs permits. So I think there's all kinds of permits that are needed. What permits do you have, and have you applied for, and what's pending?
So we are obviously, from the discharge perspective, which is the longer time permit, that is a little bit pending based on what discharge option are we selecting. Right? Obviously, that also means that you either need to get it from TCQ or you need to get it from the Railroad Commission. In the case that we would want to take deep well injection. Railroad Commission should be doable between 30 and 45 days to get that permit, because they have a general permit availability. And obviously, if you go service water discharge, it will take a little bit longer, but we have discussions with DCEQ about that already, and have no doubt, as it is the same scenario as it is in Alice, that the permit will get issued. And that's why, look, in Alice we did the same thing. Like, we do all these work streams in parallel, so we are not waiting for the permit issuance and then start engineering the plan. We do everything in parallel. Yeah, that is one of the reasons why we can deliver plans in 2 to 2.5 years.
Okay, so that's one. I think you also need a water system permit from TCEQ.
PWS, you need a PWS permit. That you only can do once you have the well drilled and that plan is built. We just did that for Alice. That should take I think it took like 60 days.
Okay.
So that's not a big issue.
And then there's the wells, right? I mean, I think that's for TCEQ. Well,
Correct. That goes along. You get the PWS permit based on what the raw water quality is, what the plant is doing, and then you get the wells permit.
okay, so that's the water quality. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then for South Texas, when you change your source, you have to get a new permit. Is that right? Or modify your existing permit?
Well, yeah.
Is that just? Do you know how long that takes?
No, actually, what we're looking for in August, we're going to meet with TCQ in Austin. we met with the team for another project, so we're very familiar with the team that we're going to be working with. Anyway, long story short, we're planning on meeting with them in August. So I guess we can report when we met with them. We can also report on status on that.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Let me make sure I'm writing this down. A deep well injection permit is 30 to 45 days. And
Correct, if you can get the general permit, right?
And the discharge permit, what was the estimate?
Surface water discharge, our estimate was
It's
that.
either or, it's not both, it's either or.
Okay, if you go a discharge route, how long would you estimate?
You mean surface water discharge or?
Yeah, surface water discharge.
Our estimate service water discharge is, let's say, 12 to 14 months.
Okay.
Because they need to be more, but again, we would do it in parallel, right? We wouldn't do it, okay, let's wait for the permit. Because typically, you know, the permits are, let me say it this way, unless you have some stuff in the water that you don't want to have, they get granted. And obviously on the deep water injection, you know, it doesn't really matter what stuff you have in there because they're getting granted anyways.
Can you help us understand one thing on that? So when would you start the discharge permit? What's the timeline? When is the expectation for when the discharge permit application would be submitted to TCQ?
Okay, so we had first discussions already with them, right? Because it also depends on what kind of, let's say, discharge ditch we are using. And again, we are only talking about surface water discharge, right? And we were discussing with them either Petrolia Creek directly or this ditch, I forgot the name, Rosanna. There's like a drainage ditch next to it.
Yeah.
Petrolia Creek has a TMDF.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
a ditch, it's not actually Petrovia. It's a ditch near Petrovia line.
Correct. Petrolia Creek has a TMDF.
To start the Kings.
It's a drainage
It's not,
ditch.
yeah, exactly.
It's not-
I know, I know that too.
Okay, and I think in the absence of, I mean, from what I'm hearing, it may be several months before we're able to get to an agreement, but I would assume that you'd be trying to make your 3 MGD plant get permitted first regardless, is that right?
Correct. Yep.
No, we will actually do everything together. So
In
that
parallel.
that is where the timeline came from, right? Because obviously we as 7Cs don't want to delay the project with SDWA and 3 MGD, yeah. But from an economies of scale perspective, it only makes sense, or it really makes sense, to wait for, okay, should we build the plant 3 MGD or should we build the plant 30 MGD? Because you clearly get economies of scale in the plant.
So one of the things I'm curious about is if you're going to submit an application for a discharge permit into a drainage ditch that goes into Petronella Creek, that goes into Baffin Bay, there was a I guess it was a sort of a pledge by the county judge of Clayburgh County that there was going to be a board of sorts that was going to be established, and that board was going to be consistent of CCA, Heart Research, a number of other coastal organizations, and they were going to look at the modeling and the science and the discharge before any decision was going to be made as to how that discharge was going to be filed and permitted. So are you saying that the discharge permit application would be applied prior to that study that was being...
I think let's step back for a second, right? And that is also the discussion that we had with the judge. This was all good intent, assuming we are going to service water discharge. There are, like always, there are pros and cons, surface versus deep well, right? Deep well is typically a little bit more expensive, but obviously deep well doesn't have the, let's say the PR issues that this whole Baffin Bay thing has. So it's really a trade-off between deep well or surface. And honestly, I have to say, because some of our folks said that already in the Alice meeting, we are looking hard at deep well injection right now. And we also had discussions with STWA internally about this, that hey, if this seems to be the easier solution, why wouldn't we do that?
Hey, Oliver, I'm having a hard time understanding you a little bit. I think it's probably because the phone's a bit hard to hear you. But when do you guys make the decision then as to whether or not you do deep well or you do a discharge to Petronella Creek?
It's a cost decision, and we will have that discussion by the end of this month too.
Okay. So that's good information, because that goes back to the original premise, which is it's hard to make decisions without knowing what the costs are, and that is absolutely a driver of costs.
But of course, we're making a decision, full knowing that we will have to make engineering changes to make that happen.
Doesn't the plant look different? Isn't the plant designed differently depending on whether you have the deep well injection or the surface water discharge? You'll have much more saline water that you'll be deep welling because it'll be less of it.
That's why, well, 7Cs, we have the engineering resources to deal with that, to actually make it viable. So we'll get back to you.
So y'all are going to need to make that decision to make a plant design decision. So that's not.
Correct.
Yeah, correct, of course.
As you probably know, right? If you go deep well injection, your interest has to be to deep well inject as low of it or less water than you would do surface water discharge. So basically, what you are doing, you are adding an additional treatment step, increase the salinity, right? But that's why I said it's pros and cons. So you're increasing the salinity from typically 70, or you're increasing the salinity or the let's say the recovery from typically 75%, which is fresh water, versus 25%. So that is the surface water, typical surface water approach. If you go deep well injection, right, because we want to inject again, the least amount of water that you can relatively easily with a few chemical additions and stuff like that, go instead of 75 recovery to 90% recovery. So that means you only, let's say, waste 10% of the water versus waste 25% of the water, if you can call it waste. But at the same time, you obviously only need less raw water, right? So you can cut your raw water filter or the well filter down. It's a little bit more equipment in the plant, and that is what we are looking at. So it's really a pro and con decision of what is the better choice. And obviously, timeline perspective, the railroad commission is you're getting easier permits or faster permits than what you're getting from TCU.
Won't deep well injection have a higher operational cost, more electricity?
It does, absolutely, because you need to pump the water down, right? And this is, for example, in common. Yeah?
But at the same time, you need less production wells, because what we're going to do is increase efficiency of the plant. So instead of discharging 25% of the raw water that is coming in, like Oliver said, we would be injecting 10%. So you actually need less raw water, so that means less pumps and less wells. So it's a trade-off.
Yep. And that's what we are looking at right now.
Will the decision to build a 3 MGD or a 28 MGD delay the decision to decide whether to go deep well or surface discharge?
I don't think so at this stage. But again, look, we are also, as you know, we are a private company, right? And we are money driven or cost driven. And that is a decision that we need to discuss with STWA too, right? Is look, if we do this, it's this. If we do that, it's this. But I haven't seen the numbers, to be honest, to say, okay, okay, we are leaning towards that, or we are leaning towards this.
And of course, if we keep on inject the concerns of the citizens and the many environmental groups will be removed, basically, because we're not going to be affecting Baffin Bay as it's been portrayed. So I think that's a big pro.
Okay, so yeah, we talked about how we're receiving water from, so South Texas, Seven Seas will provide water to South Texas at the meter, and then South Texas will have a pump station that provides water directly to the city. And they were saying that they will never have downtime at the plant. They'll have constantly multiple trains, and so when they have one down, they'll have the other, and so they'll always be able to provide 30 MGD to the city, and it'll just be a flow through from if you want to show you, the meter at the plant site to the city's 42 inch. So here's the South Texas meter, and then it will be a pump here, and then it'll be the 42 inch pipeline to the city. So it'll be a constant. There'll be no storage. It'll just be constant. So let's see. And you mentioned electricity. You said, what did you say? TCO? What did you say about that? At the end of August, you would have information. Joelle was talking. TCAP. Thank you.
Joelle serves on the board of directors for TCAP, so she has a pretty accessible resource to be able to get us a better estimate on that cost.
Okay. So
TCAP's a good provider. Yeah, they are.
I have a question about the, so obviously you're selling water to other customers from the treatment plant, right? Will we have to pay for those electrical costs, or we would only pay for our share of it? And the production costs for our share?
I think it would be.
Because I wouldn't want to pay for like Kingsville's share.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be proportional.
Tesla share.
I think it would be proportional.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that we would ask for you to take on more responsibility. Yeah. That's how we do it for the overall cost and operations for everything else. We split it by proportions.
okay. And in that conversation we just had about the, did we say when we have to make a decision on buying water? When do we need to, in order for Seven Seas to determine the size of the plant, what date does the city need to act?
Okay, well, I would suggest, can I kick the can down the road a little bit until, once we have all this information? Because I think then everything will get a little bit clearer, right? Then we can say, okay, look, ICE has a little bit better understanding of what the timeline is. We have an understanding of what the cost of the plant and the well field will be. We have an understanding of the difference between, deep well injection versus surface water discharge and stuff like that. I would prefer if we can have that debate at that stage, if you don't mind.
Okay, no, these are just answering the questions. So finally, so once we do decide on a date for delivery date and the amount, what is the city's recourse? What do we do if you're not able to? If South Texas isn't able, what is our recourse?
That's a question to Charlie.
Right. He's person Charlie.
Yeah, Janet, I haven't put all that together yet. That's down the line for where we are right now, but I'll discuss that with Mike Noon in Florida, who's the counsel for Seven Seas, and develop that language and get it over to you.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the city of South Texas contract right now. What what happens if the city's not able to provide South Texas water right now? What is South Texas?
I don't know, it's a steady providers, we don't have to worry about that. But I mean, it is a concern, I mean, that's why we went down this road to find a supplementary source, because, you know, the what-if scenario, and that was, I've shared with Drew before, that was one of the first questions Tesla asked, and they still came based on the location through rail and everything else, but we know the industry typically asks that, and our board had been kind of coinciding around that same time frame, had been asking the same thing, so I don't know off the top of my head unless Joel or Francis knows that better. I don't know if they're.
Actually, I can probably speak to that.
Then Miles would know, that's right, like who else would know?
We have an obligation, if we fall short of water production, to pro rata allocate to our customers on the basis of the rights that they have. And it's not we're not liable for damages per se, we're liable for the amount that we can provide. South Texas, being another governmental entity, I suspect would have the same type of corresponding liability or non-liability, as you might say.
I agree.
Okay, those were the questions. It sounds like we're going to have to follow up most of this on the end of August. I know we wanted to meet every 2 weeks, so our next meeting, I think we can talk about some of this. It's mid-August. Or did we want to wait until the end of August when we had more answers?
Well, Ivan will have some information for us by then,
Yeah,
2 weeks.
most definitely, but if you want to wait, yeah. So Janet and Miles and I guess Charlie, I would like to see, make a request if it's possible. So when we meet next time, would it be possible that we have like meeting minutes before that so we can review that? So we can be on the same page. And if it's possible, you know, kind of get an agenda 48 hours if possible in advance so we can make sure that we are gonna make sure we get you all the information that you want prepared. So we want to be good partners. We want to be good, so we want to prepare as much as we can to get your info.
To that point, that's a good point. Would you create an agenda? This is South Texas selling water to the city of Corpus Christi. Then we could talk about that. If we had any additional questions, we would add to it. So it would put the onus back on the seller. Because we do that with others.
We'll come up with one and then we'll get it to you for your review. I mean, yeah, you'll have more questions. We'll refer to the set of questions that Janet sent to Charlie. That's our main guy. That's what we've been all writing notes on anyway. So we'll assume that almost everything is
Right.
two to 4 weeks away. So we'll
you'll know what you can provide us and not what not.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just asking questions and if we don't know, we don't. So if you can, do your agenda and say, okay, this is what the information that we have and that we can discuss today. That'll be great, actually.
I think what you mean by minutes, since we're not really making
Not
decisions
minutes,
that are being recorded as minutes, but agreed conclusions of the meeting. You know, we're asking questions, we're getting some answers.
Yeah,
And what do we agree that the meeting, that came out of the meeting, so that at the next meeting we can say, okay, this is how 7Cs answered the question, this is how South Texas answered the question. I think that's where you're going.
Yeah, and the meeting with some action items of, okay, next meeting, what are we coming with? And kind of, I think creating an agenda, like John said, I agree. I think it's probably almost tag team creating the agenda, because we can create an agenda, but we don't know what some of your new questions might be. So maybe shoot the agenda, days before, like I was said, and then you can say, hey, add these questions to it, or bring this data as well. That when we show up, it's easier to just go through it and then have those action items.
Well, and one of the ways we actually started making progress in the Evangeline discussions was when we started putting together a term sheet that had the various terms that we had preliminarily agreed, and then took several other meetings to get to that, to the point where we initially disagreed, but agreed as to our disagreements. But at this point, we're answering questions to determine whether this is a viable and desirable proposal for the city. And we both agree that this is something that Judge Madrid kind of put upon us, but it's also an opportunity. And
It is.
Absolutely.
I want to thank South Sea, I want to thank Seven Seas for the fact that they are bringing more water to the table, to the area. I think it's positive. Even if we don't get to the finish line with the city of Corpus Christi, the fact that you're providing it to South Texas, as the area water provider, that's a positive.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate you allowing Seven Seas to be here because I think it helps answer a lot of questions. Like I said, having pretty much all the different parties involved today, I think it would have still taken us a couple of meetings to get to the point that we're at today at the end of this, at the conclusion of this meeting. So I think that was helpful to have Rosanna and of course Oliver on. So we'll work on these action items, like JJ said, right? We'll kind of create an agenda. We'll get you all so we can make sure that there's not any points, any information that's lacking, and we'll deliver on the commitments that we made, at least as far as timeline, time frame, and that will hopefully set up everything else, including costs and all the other details that have been asked today.
Yeah, I just want to kind of follow up and capitalize on what Miles said. I think, it may come across that we're asking questions that maybe in your mind it's questions that we shouldn't be asking, but I think we have to ask these questions because ultimately we're going to be responsible for our own water situation that we're in. And so we do compliment South Texas Water Authority for the efforts to secure more water. I mean, that's something that frankly is something that if anybody was to be critical of that, I would say you shouldn't be, because finding more water in this part of the world is an important thing to do. So I think it's a good opportunity to pursue it. So I'll just say that, and I like I said, Miles, thanks for mentioning that. I think it's good to get everybody here that can help answer these questions, and it's great that we're exploring this opportunity, and hopefully we get to a place that leads us all to having more water diversity. So, yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you, guys. And I think, as John mentioned, right, I think it will be good if we can have another meeting in 14 days from now, because we will have some of the information, so we are not, just resting for 4 weeks.